The Fantastic Four were just introduced to the MCU, and reasonably you'd expect LEGO to release a big wave of sets, given Eternals got 4 in total and Brave New World as well as Wakanda Forever got 3 sets each. But alas, we have to settle for the Fantastic Four vs Galactus Construction Figure, which epitomizes LEGO Marvel's current struggles better than anything. Today I will show you why the figures and build make a decent set, why LEGO probably didn't make more sets, and what else they could have done. Welcome back to the Brick Collectibles Show. Drop your opinion on LEGO's approach to this movie in the comments and let's get into it. Despite featuring prominently in both LEGO Marvel superheroes games and Galactus literally being the villain in the first one, the 76316 is the first time we are getting any of these characters in LEGO form. The Fantastic Four vs Galactus Construction Figure is the very first Fantastic Four set of all time and was released at the beginning of June to obviously accompany the Fantastic Four First Steps, which came out at the end of July. It's sadly also the only set for the movie and isn't cheap by any metric either. At a retail price of $60 US, it's the 7th most expensive Marvel set this year and the most expensive construction figure from the theme so far. In total, you get 427 pieces from the set, and after doing the math, that produces a price per piece ratio of 14 cents, which isn't great. As part of those 427 pieces, you also get 4 minifigures, LEGO's first ever iteration of the Fantastic Four, and while everything I've mentioned so far has sounded quite bitter, I'll admit it is sweet to finally get these figures here. Mr. Fantastic is Pedro Pascal's third character to receive a minifig, and they've been getting better with each one, but there are still things here that definitely need fixing. Pointing out a positive first, I love the way the suit looks. His is different from the others since he disregards the white collar and just looks so good on this figure. The printing all around is great, and the white hands also do really have a positive impact on this minifig's look. Sadly, this figure does suffer under the chronic Marvel-themed disease of missing leg printing. It's not the end of the world here, because the legs are fairly plain anyways, but the Fantastic Four wear quite prevalent white boots, which is why dual-molded legs here would have been amazing. Of course, LEGO has included these extended legs for you to simulate stretching, but I feel like they could have done more. In the new one-piece sets, Luffy does use extended rubber arms, and they are literally made for characters like these, like Mr. Fantastic, and I will get back to that when speaking about what other sets we could get or could have gotten for this movie. Ending on a positive though, the face is really good, even though it should have used a different hairpiece, something akin to Doctor Strange's current one. Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, suffers from many of the same issues. The one that is obviously immediately recognizable is the missing leg printing. The torso is slightly different than Reed's one, as the color is white here, which is accurate to the in-universe look, but regrettably, Susan Storm and the Thing do also use the exact same piece. There are differences between these characters, but I'll address that in a second. Before, I want to mention that I like the hairpiece chosen here, even though the head is another victim of LEGO Marvel's cheap approach to minifigs. It's the same that was previously used by characters like Ant-Man, Spider-Man and the like. You do also get some accessory pieces, but I'll mention the Human Torch again when talking about what could have been done with the Fantastic Four sets. Susan Storm is probably the least controversial figure of these. That doesn't mean that this figure is flawless, as you can already see, given that we are missing any leg printing once more. The torso is also the exact same as on Johnny and Ben, and I personally think that the classic female printing technique of adding negative spaces on the sides, even if it's just to distinct these figures from one another, could have helped here. We are also faced by a familiar face once again, but I actually can't complain about it here because I think it fits Vanessa Kirby way better than any other actor on who it's been used before. Also, she's got these little disc pieces to show her powers, and I quite like them. Overall, the least problematic figure of the bunch. Going from least to most controversial figure, the Thing is the last minifig of today, and let's get the basic issue out of the way, there's no leg printing and he reuses the same torso again. Where the entire thing becomes difficult though is with his minifig's physique. Historically the Thing is pretty big and has been represented by big figs in the LEGO Marvel games as well. Ben Grimm's not that tall in the movie though, which is why I think not going with a big fig was a good decision, but he is still bigger than the rest of the characters, both in height and width. I've heard different suggestions of how that look could have been achieved, and since I actually quite like the look of the head with the new rock cap piece, I prefer the idea of chest armor with shoulder pads. This piece has been used on a load of figures like Wrecker or Paz Vizsla to make them taller and wider too, and that could have improved this figure too. So the figures are okay, but they clearly show how far LEGO Marvel has fallen in the last couple of years. I'm thinking back to the Eternals and how that movie didn't just get 4 sets, but also figures with leg printing and custom molds, all the while Fantastic Four have to compromise on this. Now, I guess you could argue that Galactus is a figure as well, but he's obviously part of the construction figure line. If you didn't know, this subline kicked off in 2022 and has about dozens or so entries by now, but this is by far the best looking in my opinion. It's actually quite tall, taller than I expected. I've not bought any of the other construction figure sets, so I don't know their scale, but Galactus measures a total of 28 centimeters in height. With that, he'll obviously look tiny compared to something like the Avengers Tower, but he looks quite nice next to something like the OG Sanctum. The actual best part of the figure in my opinion is the head. Galactus has a very distinctive design and the head and helmet are by far the most iconic part of it. Sadly, there is some dark red scattered around it, as with the entire build since it was cheaper than producing new pieces in magenta I guess, but they really nailed down the shape. Also very importantly, the face is printed, meaning that you don't have to deal with applying a sticker. There are stickers in the set though, as you can see undoubtedly with the chest, which focal point is in fact a sticker that I totally fucked up while applying. These skirt pieces down here are also old stickers by the way, but those are considerably easier to put on. Just getting back to the dark red pieces though, these are placed all throughout the build, and once you become aware of them, they are rather annoying, but it's still nothing that'll sink the boat. Also, the articulation is actually pretty good. I was originally suspicious of the set, given how articulation is sometimes a little difficult with LEGO and can be rather flimsy, but they actually managed to do it rather well here. You can move the head, pretty much every part of the arms, his entire torso independently from his lower body, and all parts of the legs are movable too, only restricted by the skirt. It's also very sturdy because of the flatness of the feet. They do look odd by comparison to the rest of the build, but they keep it upright without any problems, so I have to commend that. The last thing I want to address with this build, I know it's a pretty short part of the video, are the features to implement the figures. As you may have noticed, there's a translucent rod on his back to which you are supposed to attach Johnny so he can fly around Galactus. There are also his hands, which include an exposed stud meant to either help him grab a minifig, as we see with Mr. Fantasticar on a box, or help a minifig attack him. It's good for display and children might like it while playing, but other than that, there's nothing else really to it. So, all in all, I don't think this is a bad set. Is it overpriced? Yeah. Absolutely. This should have been $50 at most, but in my opinion, this would be a great set in a lineup of Fantastic Four sets. On its own, it's rough, as you've heard me describe during this entire video, but if there were one or two more sets, this wouldn't be nowhere near as scrutinized as it rightfully is. But what could have another Fantastic Four first step set looked like? Well, let's take a look at a set that isn't actually from the Marvel theme, but was a promo from LEGO Ideas. The flying moon car looks very similar to the Fantasticar from the new movie, as pointed out by like half the LEGO community, and could easily be the blueprint for a second set. Two set Marvel waves are nothing new, just look at Shang-Chi, and this set could retail for $20 to $30. I would actually include this set's Mr. Fantastic in the Fantasticar and replace him with a rubber-armed version for his fight against Galactus. Add a fiery Johnny Storm to the set, we've already seen Marvel Legends produce a figure of this version, a Silver Surfer and perhaps Herbie, and you've got a fantastic second set. But sadly that isn't reality. Check out Ryan Savell's video on how to mod the flying moon car though, so you can perhaps do that to your own set. If you now want to know why we only get to have one Fantastic Four set, I'd recommend you click my video on LEGO Marvel's currently declining situation, but mainly I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.